Hello and welcome to episode 1 of PodQuest. Today we are going to be talking about Star Wars, but before we get into that discussion here, let us introduce the panel here. My name is Dustin Lyon.
I am in the player 3 spot. I'm Paul English.
Player 2 is Kelsy Polnick.
And myself in player 1. How's it going today, guys?
It's awesome.
Oh, not bad. Just getting over a bad flu, so sorry for the sniffs, the coughs, and the hacks, boys.
You know, you just stay away from me. I don't want to get sick.
I think I'm over the hump. I think I'm just past it, but just enough to still feel grimy.
Wonderful.
Frank grimy.
What have you guys been playing this week? Starting with you, Kelsey.
Just plugging away at Mario Odyssey again. We're up to 768 moons. So we're getting to the home stretch now.
Getting close.
Yeah. I don't actually know how many moons there are. I'm assuming there's over 800 at this point, but I don't think there's over 900. Somewhere in between.
There is 999 moons.
Really? Wow. Okay, so there's still
home
significant amount to go. That's okay, though. I'm enjoying it. I can spend some more time with that game.
That's cool. I've also been playing Mario Odyssey. I'm behind you, but I'm probably about... I think I just hit 500 moons the other day. I'm about 20 moons away from unlocking the darker side of the moon, like the last extra stage you can unlock. And I also...
It's a really tough challenge. Oh, my.
Is it like is it like Champion Road, where it's like you have to go through an entire level without getting a save? Yeah,
there's a long stretch of challenging platforming, and it uses a bunch of different techniques from the game. You'll use different transformations and stuff. But yeah, no checkpoints. Like you got to do it all in one session. Oh, very tough, very challenging.
Not looking forward to that. I was never able to finish Champions Road on Mario 3D World. It was the one thing I needed to do to finish the game, and I could never do it.
We haven't beaten this challenge yet. I feel like we're really close to the end, but I don't actually know how far it is, so it's hard to judge. But they're giving us some transformation challenges that are really late in the main game, so I'm assuming they correlate to being late in this challenge too.
Okay. I've also been playing. I kind of got a nostalgic feel again. I've been playing the .hack GU re-release.
Yeah, I saw you picked that
for
up last
PS4,
week.
and I've been enjoying it quite a bit. It was funny when I put the disc in for the first time and went to go start the first chapter of the GU series. It had an option where it says, "Do you want to play cheat mode?" I was like, "What's cheat mode?" And you go to select it, and it says, "Oh, cheat mode is for people who have played the game already previously." And it just basically gives all your characters max stats, all the best item stuff. And I was like, no.
That's interesting, though.
I may have played that game for like 300 hours previously on the PS2 version. I'm going to be playing it again for another 300 hours on the PS4 version. I'm doing everything legit. So
that's dedication.
Nice.
Dedication to .hack.
Well, and the cool thing is they have a fourth episode to it. An unreleased fourth episode that got tacked onto the game because they ran out of room on the PS2 discs.
Wow.
So
that's really awesome.
You actually, so not only did you get all the games.
That's my Owen Wilson.
That's your Owen Wilson.
That's my, wow.
Let's hear your Owen Wilson.
Oh, .hack. Oh, wow. Just like he's here. Get out of here, Owen. Okay, guys. See you later.
All right. What have you been playing, Paul?
I was out of town for the week. But I still managed to get in some quality gaming. I went to a kind of like a hipster bar, I guess it would be called. And they had some really awesome pinball machines. They had a new Star Wars, a new Star Trek, Game of Thrones, Simpsons. Awesome stuff. Ghostbusters one, very fun.
Actually played the Star Wars and the Ghostbusters one on my trip a few weeks back too.
Yeah, put quite a few loonies into them.
Yeah.
I love pinball, so it was fun to play. Did a speed run through Super Mario 3 on the SNES with one of my the NES with one of my friends.
SNES, NES.
No,
they're not words; they're abbreviations.
NES.
Oh,
I use SNES all the time.
Yeah. I might need to branch off and start a new podcast
on the NES. On the Nintendo. I played Super Mario 3. It was a lot of fun. Haven't played it in a long time, and hasn't played it in a long time either. So that was good. We played some Blackthorn.
Yeah.
I've never played it before.
Getting ready for some Overwatch maps, eh?
Exactly. We got about halfway through it. It's a very Prince of Persia vibe. If anybody likes the original Prince of Persia and hasn't played Blackthorn. It's not bad. It's kind of fun. I enjoyed it.
Pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of backtracking, kind of like a Samus, and you can definitely see the blizzard. Like the orcs are all like the aliens look like orcs and stuff like that. So it was fun. And then Star Wars, Battlefront 2, early access. Oh boy, I've been playing a lot of that.
Well, I hope that you tell us more about that in our big discussion here about Star Wars stuff
That's all
later
you
on.
get.
That's all we get for now. Well, that's
easier.
good. Well, then why don't we head into the breakdown of this week's news segments here. Probably the first big story that I recall seeing this week was that Disney reportedly was holding talks to buy 21st Century Fox assets. And this included their majority of their TV properties, such as The Simpsons, Family Guy, various stuff like that, as well as some of their movie rights, which means Disney and Marvel could get the X-Men back.
And Fantastic Four.
Which I think would be a fantastic idea. Because a lot of people are like, well, why isn't Wolverine in the Avengers? Or my favorite thing, and I say favorite with a great hint of sarcasm, that when that Age of Ultron movie came out, that they weren't allowed to call Quicksilver or Scarlet Witch mutants.
Yeah.
That was dumb.
I couldn't find it, but I'm sure I've heard in the past that Hugh Jackman said he would do one more Wolverine if he could fight Hulk in a movie.
Yeah, I think I remember him saying that as well. So, some interesting notes on that. Everybody thinks that talks have stalled, but that's still on the table. Talks are still going on. And the deal centers around more of a partnership. More of a partnership between Fox and Disney. Disney taking over movies and TV, with Fox still having a little bit of clout.
Would it be kind of more like similar to like how Sony and Marvel did?
A little
like
bit
for
more
Spider-Man?
heavy-handed than that. Like, there won't be an option for really things to go backwards, and Fox will concentrate more on sports and newscasting. And that's kind of what the deal is hinging on. The deal is all about, like, Disney will kind of take over all production, with some profits probably going back to Fox, and then Fox being more of a news and sports conglomerate.
Right, because I remember reading part of it said that Disney's not allowed to actually just straight up buy Fox, because then it means they hold a monopoly on certain broadcasting stuff, and the FCC and the government agencies in the US are saying, no, you can't do that. So it definitely sounds like that's probably the better route.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's good if Fox still has a hand in it, because it allows us to still get a variety of films. And TV, I feel if Disney takes over everything, we're going to get very pigeonholed into what we see.
Yeah, I read one article where the writer was really concerned about Disney taking over something like FX, because that whole channel is so anti-Disney, and it's like feel that if they put any of their production values and shine into it, it would just change the shows drastically.
So
Does that mean that we'll see Archer on Disney?
Probably. Very Disney. Fantastic Archer. So since this story broke, shares in both Disney and 21st Century Fox have gone up quite a bit. In this week leading up to Friday, stocks in Disney have gone up 7%, where stocks in Fox have risen 18%. So that's a pretty good bump in interest.
That's all stocks do that. Whenever there's some sort of big story, like look at when Pokemon Go came out and Nintendo stocks went through the roof, and it was like a week later Nintendo had to come out and say, we're sorry to tell you this, but we technically don't own the game. It's through Niantic. And then all the stocks went back down to where they started off at.
So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the next couple weeks. To see.
I think the talks are legit, because they're denying that it doesn't exist, but I'm pretty sure it exists, and I really want all the Marvel stuff to come back together, because who would not love to have an R-rated Deadpool crossover Avengers movie?
I don't think we'd see that even when they merge.
Yeah, it'll be like I said, it'll be interesting to see what happens. It'd also be because if Disney could release things under the Fox banner, there's a good chance they could release R-rated content, because it's not under Disney. So, and Disney has so much money to throw at fan favorite like movies and stuff like that. So if there's something like a cult classic that needs to be rebooted, Disney can sink the money into it. And then, like I said, if it's not under the Disney banner, if they can put it under a Fox banner, can do whatever they want with it, which would be, it kind of excites me a little bit.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, we'll definitely have to see how that turns out. The next big story, this just happened just a couple days ago, which Paul and Kelsy, you guys must be excited for this, but they had a trailer for the next fighter pack for Injustice 2, and they showed off the Atom, the Enchantress, and the surprise hit, the Ninja Turtles. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I'm very excited about Ninja Turtles being in this game. I haven't got to play Injustice 2 yet, but I played quite a bit of Injustice 1. It's a fantastic game, and I've heard really good things about 2 so far, especially the story. I feel like those characters are a decent fit. They should be fun to play. I really like how they're going all over the place with the cast in this one. Like, they're doing some deep cuts, like Dr. Fate and Swamp Thing and Grodd and now Ninja Turtles. Like, it's a really cool mashup of characters that's in this game.
Yeah, I haven't played it either. I've played the first one quite a bit. Yeah, I think it's an awesome addition. I can't wait to see what's next. Maybe Shredder, maybe Krang, Rocksteady and Bebop. You know, they've done 2 other fighters packs that have had really awesome surprise characters like Black Manta, Hellboy. You're gonna get your Mortal Kombat characters in there, which take them or leave them. It has a huge roster of 41 characters. And it also has palette swaps, so you get like Bizarro and Jon Stewart and stuff like that, which brings the roster up to 50 if you swap out the costumes and stuff like that. So the game is doing huge fan service. If only the movie end of things was as good as how the games are going. But I've heard really good things about Injustice 2. I look forward to playing it.
I've noticed, because you touched on it there with the fan service part, I've noticed with Injustice 2 compared to the first Injustice that they actually haven't really touched into the TV stuff yet. Yeah. Not as much, because I know the first Injustice, when it came out, they actually had a kind of an extra skin where they had Stephen Amell's Arrow come in and replace Green Lantern, and they actually had him come in. He recorded all his dialogue and stuff, and I thought it was a really cool idea. But I haven't seen that with this version, because they have a lot of properties that they could use, because they could throw in the Flash, because the Flash right now, I believe, is the highest rated superhero TV show right now. They have Arrow, they have Legends of Tomorrow, they have Supergirl. Supergirl's already in it already, which they kind of did design her character kind of based off the TV series already. So there's not really much to do there, but...
Gotham.
Yeah, there's Gotham too, but let's not touch on that part. I don't like Gotham.
I don't think anybody does. But yet it still gets seasons.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that comes out. One question that a lot of people are asking with the Ninja Turtles part is, are they just one character where they're amalgamated into one character, where if you do, say, a certain move set and then maybe Raphael comes out and replaces Leonardo, or are they actually going to be separate characters? Like, that's the big question. Characters. They're going to be separate characters?
As each character is completely separate with its own move list.
That's fantastic.
Which is awesome too, because, I don't want a Pokemon trainer, although I do like that concept. I like the concept of the Pokemon trainer from
Smash Brothers?
Yeah.
And I do, Captain Ginyu's kind of like that in the new Dragon Ball Z Fighter Z.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great idea. I've always wanted to see them expand on that, like a Dr. Wily. And he's got 3 robot masters that he calls out and they fight or something like that. Would be really awesome.
That would be a hard choice, though, because especially with us, a couple of us being Mega Man fans, like, who would he bring out? Like, of course, masters? Like, he'd have to have like Gutsman, Fireman, Iceman, but it's like, where would you draw the line? As
every color palette has a different 3 robot masters. Ugh.
Each one is just a different game. Like, this is the Dr. Wily game 1, game 2, game 3.
That'd be awesome. I'd be into that.
That's never gonna happen.
No, it won't. Or even Robotnik.
Yeah, that could be
because Sonic doesn't have as many classic kind of bad guys, so you can just kind of throw whatever in there.
That'd be kind of funny. Next story is the Xbox One X launched on, I believe it was Tuesday.
Yes.
And that's... I don't own an Xbox, so
any of you guys have plans to pick one up in the future?
No.
Me neither.
The reviews on it so far, like, a lot of people are saying that, like, it's a really powerful machine, because apparently it's on par with PC because when I was doing some research on Star Wars Battlefront 2, I was listening on a guy who was doing a comparison between the PC version he played and the Xbox One X version he played, and they're so close to each other it's hard to tell the difference between the two. But I think that's just because, they obviously packed in a lot of hardware and stuff into the Xbox One X, but then, a year from now, the PCs are going to surpass it. So,
if it even takes that long, yeah.
So I have no plans to pick one up. So
I'm always interested in the release of new consoles. Like, I have a new computer. I've been playing PC for a while. I don't intend on buying a new console unless it's like the Switch to kind of jump on board with.
Get that stuff you can't get on the other things.
Yeah, exactly.
that's kind of why I like Sony, because Sony's got a lot of the like Japanese style games, like a lot of anime games and stuff. You never see any of that on Xbox.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, because I had one of the newer Xboxes when Halo 5 came out. I actually got the special edition for the excuse me, for the Halo set, and I played Halo 5, and I played a little bit of it, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of bored of it. And then a friend of mine was like, oh, hey, well, you should check out this awesome new anime game. I'm like, what is it? He's like, oh, it's a Digimon game. I'm like, go on. and I looked into it, and I found it was only for PS4, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to trade in my Xbox. I'm going to get myself a PS4. I'm going to get Digimon. And since then, I have no regrets.
I don't blame you. They've done a terrible job with exclusives this generation. So if you want some of that multi-platform stuff, PS4 is so the way to go. You can get all the big ones on both, but
I'm glad you mentioned that, Kelsy.
Yeah, I was also got something on that as well.
Because Microsoft is looking to acquire some new or open new studios to bolster their Microsoft exclusive games.
that seems like something they should have done 2 or 3 years ago.
That's something they should have done like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because what are their exclusive games? Halo, Gears of
Forza.
War, and maybe Dead Rising when it first came out.
Forza's a big one for them. And
Yeah, Forza.
Fable used to be a big one for them, but they've kind of killed that one off lately.
Well, they had Fable Legends up, and then they, like you said, then they killed it.
Yeah.
Like, I was actually interested in it when it was supposed to be like a 1v5 game where one person was like the dungeon master controlling what was going on, and the other 4 characters were running around dealing with it. I was like, that's a great idea, and then it just popped out of existence.
My rule of thumb to own a console is usually if there's 3 games I can't get anywhere else, I want that console at my house. And so when they announced the Xbox One, I'm not a big fan of all the ones that we just mentioned, but they had Sunset Overdrive coming out. I said, that looks like it's up my alley. Yeah. They had announced Phantom Dust, which I liked the old one, so I thought this one would be pretty cool. They announced Scalebound, which I love Platinum games, so I was really into that. And then they put out the Rare Replay, which I was like, I love a lot of these games. I wouldn't mind trophy support for some of them. So I got the Rare Replay, I got Sunset Overdrive, and then they canceled both of the other games I was interested in. So I don't actually have a third game to justify its existence at my house right now. And it just sits there collecting dust. There's nothing I want to play on.
You're going to go over to your house and find like a little dog house, and it's just thrown outside.
Yeah, like cobwebs on it and stuff. Like, yeah.
The problem I see with the Xbox One X is they have no launch titles with it. Nothing exclusive.
Crackdown was supposed to be the big one, and then it got postponed.
It was
really something.
Launch title.
It's
better than nothing, but it's not a game that's really gonna make people go like, I gotta go out and get an Xbox X. Ah!
It makes the fans happy though, which they seem to do a good job of doing fan service, like with the backwards compatibility and when they change their OS and stuff.
And the other thing too is they release it at such a poor time. Like, sure, they're capitalizing on the Christmas market, but they've missed the big new game push that usually happens in like September, October, November. So now people have already purchased them for other consoles. Do people want to go back and play these games just to see a little bit of graphic enhancement? Like, I've heard Gears of War and Halo, you can notice the graphics on it. Probably with Star Wars coming out, there's going to be a big jump in graphics as well. But
do either of you guys own a 4K TV?
No.
I don't know if I know a single person who has one yet either.
No, that's one thing that's funny that, I hear all the stories about, oh yeah, 4K gaming, whatnot, and 4K, yeah, it's going to be so good and 60 frames a second. And I go, time out. That's not even fully perfected on PC yet. How are you going to perfect 4K gaming on console gaming when the PCs haven't even fully gotten it down yet? Because like to do it 4K gaming on a PC, that's got to be like a $4,000 machine.
Yeah, most demos I've ever seen, it's like a company has it on a demo at some kind of con. It's like play a little bit of a game, then just walk away.
Yeah.
And I don't know many people.
I was going to mention that when you were saying about the no games for this Xbox One X, this is kind of almost a Wii to Wii U kind of upgrade, because the Wii U was just an HD version of the original Wii system. So is that kind of what this Xbox is, where they've just decided, you know what, let's make a 4K version of our original Xbox and we'll call it a brand new console when it's still the exact same thing?
What it is.
I don't think I've ever looked at it that way, just because the Wii U had that different play style with the tablet controller. So in my mind, those two things have been very separate.
You are a sucker, my friend.
No, I mean, like the Xbox One X doesn't have something different about it. You can play all the same games that you had the previous generation in the exact same way. Whereas the Wii U, it had different, like you could play all your Wii stuff on it, but it didn't have different compatibility with the controller. So you had new games coming out that you couldn't do on the Wii. Was where I was getting with that. But yes, I am a sucker, and if it's Nintendo, I will probably buy it.
I think what we should probably do is we should pose this as a question to any of our viewers: that have you bought a Xbox One X, and tell us the reasons why you bought it.
Yeah, what's the appeal?
Like, yeah, what is the appeal? Like, help us convince us that maybe we should be looking at this. So I'll throw that as a question to any of the viewers,
or even a PS4 Pro.
Yeah, I haven't upgraded mine because I have no. It doesn't give me any benefits yet.
Yeah. At least the PS4 Pro had Horizon Zero Dawn.
I could still get Horizon Zero Dawn on regular PS4 though.
Yeah, so it's not doing anything for you.
Yeah.
Anyway. How about we go to something that is doing really well? GTA 5 sells 85 million copies, which is now beating the record holder that was Wii Sports. That's pretty interesting.
Pretty amazing, considering. The first 3D, the first 3D, not 3D. The first I guess it would be.
You're talking about Grand Theft Auto 3?
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3. When that game came out, it was in 2001.
Yeah, roughly around there.
And it was like got a lot of flack with the content, and then Vice City came out, and they were really frowned upon. Parents didn't really want to buy them for their kids, and yada yada yada. And now Grand Theft Auto is like a household name almost.
Well, those controversies seem to really help that series.
Yeah.
I was working at a video store when the whole hot coffee San Andreas thing came out.
Oh yeah.
And it was way after the game had already come out. We couldn't keep it in stock all of a sudden again. It was gone constantly.
Yep.
Well, the thing is too, that hot coffee thing, that was a mod thing. Like, it was something in the game that the developers said, you know what, we can't put this in here. We're going to completely lock it out. So they actually did their due diligence to make sure that no one was able to try it.
Just those controversial stories, though, get people interested in it and pick it up.
I guess that's true, because if someone hands you a big red button and I say, hey, Kelsy, don't push this big red button. What's the first thing you want to do?
I've got willpower. I could do it.
What about you? If I pass you the red button, are you going to press it? If I tell you don't press it?
If you pass it to me and told me not to press it, I'd pass it to Kelsey and tell him to press it. And then he'd press it.
Yeah. No peer pressure. I've never played a GTA game past 3.
Oh, wow.
I loved 1 and 2. 3, when they went 3D, that just wasn't for me. I stopped playing it. I didn't enjoy the series, and I've never touched it since.
I liked number 5. I played through all of number 5 on, I think it was on console the first time. I can't remember what it was, but I played through completely through it. And to me, it was really cool because all the different characters had their own different dynamics. Like, I can't remember the main guy's name. He's Michael. The guy, Michael. His was kind of almost a 80s action movie kind of feel to it, while Trevor's was just like a anarchy kind of rampage.
It was a good game the way they handled it. I remember when it came out, I took the week off of work because it came out on my birthday, and I played through the entire storyline, getting ready because they said a week after they were going to release the multiplayer. Multiplayer released horribly, So then I went on to 100% story mode and then put countless hours into multiplayer of that game. I played a lot of that game, and them doing fan service and apologizing for their like multiplayer launch, giving all content for free after that. And there is so much awesome game extending content for that now. Like Rockstar knows what they're doing. They've had a lot of really good titles come out. GTA 1. I didn't really like GTA 2 that much. GTA 3 was okay. Vice City was great. San
2's my
Andreas was
favorite
good.
one.
Of course it is. 4 was okay. 5, like I said, is really amazing. Red Dead games. Like, we could have a whole podcast on Rockstar probably. Like they know what they're doing. They know how to please their fans.
The one thing I do like about Rockstar, even though they don't really have any franchises that I enjoy, I like that they don't milk them every year. I like that they take their time and they make their fans happy. I wish more companies that I do like their content would do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Like when did Grand Theft Auto 4 come out? 2008 maybe?
When did 5 come out? That game's still on like top 10 sales charts like 2-3 years after it launched.
Well,
like
it was longer than that. I feel Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in like, I guess 2015.
It's pretty crazy how the legs that game has in sales. It's
and
nuts.
when did the last Red Dead game come out? 2006? 2007?
Yeah, but that new one comes out next year, right? Red
Yeah.
Dead 2? Yeah.
So that's a pretty good, like, people who like those games really want that game. When it comes out, it's going to draw in other people as well. So
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like how you both said, like they obviously take their time to make the game. Like they almost have a Blizzard approach where it'll be released when we say it can be released.
Yeah.
When the
as
market's ready for it.
as well as the continued support of adding more content, because I remember the last Grand Theft Auto 5 update I saw, even though I haven't played it in a while, it was like I think it was like a Tron update where it was like they called it the arcade update, where it's like you could have Tron light bike races.
It's pretty awesome. And they've done more after that, and they've really fleshed out like a story mode within multiplayer where you're smuggling guns, you're doing this, there's a lot of content in there, and there's a lot for everybody. Like you can be a biker gang, you don't have to be a corporate mogul, you can be a smuggler, you don't have to be a biker. Like they have lots and lots of stuff going on. So
you guys happy about this being top selling game? Like this
Definitely.
this represents
Yep.
gaming to people that don't know gaming. That's okay with you guys?
It's a good game. It's they.
But what about
it's a game that obviously the company
Paul looks like
supports
he's struggling with that one.
that's a good question. Like,
People
is
that
it
don't know
okay for
gaming,
Grand
they see
Theft
this and they
Auto
go, "This is Super Mario
5?
Bros." now.
Oh, okay. I guess that's yeah. Sorry,
You want that to be people that are outside of this industry and this hobby's first impression of gaming.
If we were in 1995 and this was the game, and like how gaming kind of was posed throughout the 90s and early 2000s, I would definitely say no. But because we live in a different world, we live in the internet age where everything is at your fingertips, and like PG is not really something that a lot of people can just live through anymore. So I'm fine with it because the game is gorgeous. There is a lot of hard work put into it. There is something for a lot of people in that game. It's definitely not for a younger crowd.
Yeah, there's still primary players in that.
Yeah. But is gaming necessarily focused at kids anymore like it used to be?
Oh no, it's all over the place now.
No,
it's fantastic.
That's the one thing. Like Nintendo's kind of slightly learning that they're actually realizing, hey, a lot of our younger players who grew up playing the original Nintendo stuff are much older. They can handle the mature content. So we're actually now seeing like Doom and a couple other stuff, like
Bayonetta
some more
too last generation.
yeah,
which is
some more
awesome.
mature titles actually finally coming out to Nintendo. So yeah, the market itself has grown because a lot of us who were younger at that time of, oh, you can't play Grand Theft Auto because it's too much of a violent game for you. Well, we're old enough now that we can make decisions as adults to play those games and to enjoy them. So why should everything be all black and white and kid friendly when we sometimes want to get in a car and pretend to drive around and go on a little mini rampage?
And Grand Theft Auto, there's a demographic of gamers who want to experience a life inside a game, and Grand Theft Auto Online gives you that. You can buy stuff, buy an apartment, buy a house, customize it the way you want it, do cars. People want that experience, open world, where they're just like, oh, I hate my mundane life as a whatever. But yeah, so.
Well, they must be obviously doing really good, because our next news story was that Take-Two Interactive, which is the parent company to Rockstar, had a report with their stockholders and showed that 48% of all their yearly revenue to date came from microtransactions, which I know Grand Theft Auto has a lot of microtransactions in it. So that's saying a lot. That's saying almost half of their revenue came from just the content that you buy in the game, not the game itself.
That's not even content, it's currency.
Yeah.
You spend your money on game money that doesn't translate very well. Like the difference in what you're doing. And yeah, so. And it's to buy clothes, to buy upgrades for your cars that don't give you an edge, really.
This is why I have a problem with it being the highest selling game, is because all sorts of other companies now are going to say, look at how good this is doing. We need to emulate this now. And then that trend gets bigger and worse. And I hate in-game purchases with real life currency.
It kind of already is worse already, because look at
right now,
look at Battlegrounds,
insane.
look at Overwatch, look at every game that has like some sort of
War, Call of Duty,
loot crate.
yeah.
Battlefront 2 later on, it's going to have these star cards, whatnot, and everything.
Yeah.
It's I think it's already gotten worse, where like the gaming industry needs to go back and look at these and go, yes, it's a great moneymaker, which obviously they're going to want to keep doing because it is a moneymaker. But I think they need to kind of start breaking it back down where, say, like an in-game character skin, they should give us the choice of do these certain requirements to unlock it or buy it. So that way, if we feel like I don't want to spend any money on this game, that I can at least go through and do something that's challenging to unlock it. So that way it feels like a reward to myself, while allowing the other players who are too lazy to do the challenge to just go, you know what?
Did you guys see
Give it to
what
me.
the Monster Hunter developers said in interviews about this recently? Because their game's basically like loot boxes. If you think about it, you kill an animal and you don't know what you're necessarily getting out of it. But his response was basically, that's ridiculous. We want to build a game where people enjoy spending time in the game. We don't want to give them opportunities to skip portions of the game, rather than have fun doing the thing that they're doing. If not, then go play something else.
Yeah, I agree with that. Battlefield used to do that. They really, sorry for that hesitation, brain fart.
It's a lot of Battlegrounds, Battlefront, Battlefield.
Battlefield used to, you could earn all of your weapons through grinding, playing the game, going up levels, or you could buy weapons packs. And, you'd have people that are a lower skill rank who aren't going to sink it in or come in later, and they just spend the money and buy. Is that okay? I don't know. Like
most people don't seem to have a problem with it, obviously, if they're making this much money from it.
It's the way we're going. It's the way gaming's going. It's the next step in making a video game. Like Grand Theft Auto having microtransactions, and setting a trend. I'm fine with that because they release so much other good content. If all gaming industries want to follow what Rockstar did, awesome.
I don't think they're seeing that quality. They're just seeing like, hey, they're making money by putting stuff in their game to buy. I don't think they're seeing why people don't mind it so much in something like GTA.
Yeah, they don't see the big picture. And the big picture is a really good core game with really good added-on free support following that, and then microtransactions for you to navigate your way through that. I'm fine with that because I don't have to spend the money on it. You don't have to spend the money on it.
And I'm glad I don't have to.
We'll definitely have to see how maybe this next year turns out, because
there's a lot of noise about it, but people are still spending, so I think the noise will just die down over time.
Yeah. So
makes me sad.
Our last news story, which it's kind of a little sad, that there's a new rating requirements that makes it harder for small publishers to release indie games. So I looked into this story myself because I believe, did you post this one?
Yeah,
Kelsy?
this was me.
I looked into it too, and it said where basically any digital game that gets released, they don't have to pay a fee when it comes to getting the rating through the ESRB, but as soon as they go to doing a physical release, they're now being charged a certain percentage to have that rating, which I think that's weird. Why
is weird.
Why does this service get to be for free for digital only, but as soon as I become physical, you're going to charge me for do it?
Because it's mostly been big publishers that are putting out physical, so it hasn't been an issue until recently when little companies like Limited Run Games, Play Asia's been putting stuff out, Special Reserve Games have been doing really small print runs of games that were before digital only. So they do print runs of like 4,000 to 10,000 games rather than hundreds of thousands of games. So when you add a fee onto that, their game that used to be affordable now becomes, they can't make any money on it. So Limited Run has said specifically that they have to be a lot pickier with what they put out now, because little niche games that they love and that should have a market, if they raise the price on them, they don't think they can make money.
Which, unfortunately, that's really sad. Because
it is, because they've been really popular over the last couple of years.
I want to see like those games, like me, Kelsey. Like, we really like having a physical copy of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know you and I have talked about before that I'd really love to have a physical copy of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World,
mm-hmm.
because right now it's sitting on my PS3. You can't get it digitally anymore. It's gone. So that's the only version I ever have. And if my PS3 accidentally, if the hard drive dies on it, or if it gets reformatted or something, then I lose it forever.
Yeah.
Like, that's a game that I want to have on my shelf, because I absolutely loved that arcade style game.
And there's a lot of more obscure companies and obscure games that if they go out of business in the future, someone's not necessarily going to buy them and pick up the rights to their games. They're just gone if they only exist digitally. So I like having a way to preserve some of these. And I've bought a bunch of limited run games and special reserve games and a couple from the Play Asia store as well. They're really fantastic. They put a lot of effort into them. They do really cool things with the packaging. They put out neat special editions. They're just really a lot of thought and care into them that kind of remind me of like the Working Designs games when I was a kid. They used to do a lot of cool stuff with their releases. And just the fact that that's getting harder for them means less of them, and it means some of these companies might go away instead of new ones popping up, which is the opposite trend that I want to happen.
You, Paul, your thoughts?
I think it's bad for the gaming industry because it really holds down, like I said, smaller gaming companies. So
yeah, there should be ways to encourage small guys to get into this, not to restrict them and just make it the big guys.
And then, is that pushing us more into a digital microtransaction age? Definitely, it is. The rating system for a digital game as opposed to a hard copy game is really strange as well. Like, what is the difference made? Because if a game is digital, you have to have a credit card to buy it.
But they were getting away with not putting the ESRB rating on them because they weren't selling them at retail. They were selling them directly to the customer.
Yeah.
So you'd go on to like limited run games. When the game goes up for pre-order, you put in your address and your credit card info. They send it right to your house.
Yeah.
There's you don't have to go to Walmart and have your parent kind of check it out and make sure it's okay for you, kind of thing.
But yet, when I go onto Steam and I go buy a game there, they all have ratings on them.
Yeah.
Like, even the indie ones, like they tell you straight up front, this is a E for everyone. This is a mature game.
Same thing, because that's a storefront, just a different kind of storefront. Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess ESRB doesn't think that will cut it anymore going forward. So they want, and I have no problem with them having ratings on games. They just need to streamline it and make it easier for small publishers to get them on, and not just easier, cheaper.
But that's been the story of North American business for 50 years. More moves towards the smaller company not having a chance to survive in a
it's true
big company world. So you get that with everything.
And I'm afraid, just like the microtransaction thing, that the noise will die down and it'll just go away, which would be very sad.
Yeah,
it's a strange time we live in. Dark times ahead.
Mm-hmm. If only we could go to a galaxy far, far away.
Far away.
Ooh, that was quite
Cue-
the segue.
Cue title what?
Cue, cue the title wipe.
And a face palm or two.
All right, so moving on to our main discussion here. Today we're talking a lot of Star Wars stuff. So why don't we start with Star Wars Battlefront 2? Because I know that's coming out, I believe, is it next week?
Yeah, I think it's the 17th, so Friday.
Right, and you said that you were in the open beta of it?
Yeah, I pre-ordered the game. I had open beta, and because of my pre-order, I also get early access. So I've had the game for... This will be the third day that I've had access to
How are
it.
how are you liking it so far? And is it a full game or is it very much a beta?
Full game. Like, I have access to everything. I've only been playing multiplayer. I've heard the campaign is really good, so I'm really excited to jump into that. It's got a lot of co-op missions you can play with friends as well.
On the same couch, or do you have to both be online for the co-op stuff? Do you know?
I'm not too sure about that because I'll be playing online with somebody because it's on my PC. So if
Right.
it was console, it'd be a different story. But
I did see there was an option of having a split screen for something, unless that's just multiplayer only, but it sounds like there is an option to do a split screen and
in
something.
the
Hopefully.
last game, they had split screen co-op play as well. The game is gorgeous. It looks and sounds so good. I am really enjoying it. It's a little shallow, like the predecessor and other games that are coming out in EA's like Titanfall 1 and 2 were both very shallow games, but they were both very enjoyable games. Gives you a really good multiplayer experience. I'm a huge fan of Star Wars. I haven't noticed microtransactions being a problem, but that's when the
I
early
watched
phases.
a guy spend on $100 pack of the cards that you open and just like sit there for like 20 minutes and open up all these cards. It was really interesting to see that because I haven't really played a game where I've had loot boxes in them. So it was neat to see him, and it seemed like I don't know if it's not obviously not a good representation because it was just one guy doing it one time. I don't think he was happy with the $100 he spent because there was like 4 or 5 rare cards in it. 2 of them were duplicates and 2 of them weren't things that he likes to play as.
Perfect. That's
It's-
great because I'm never going to spend money on that game.
Yeah, it seemed like a pretty bad investment gameplay wise to do that.
Because they said that all like really rare things and things that will make a difference in the game have to be earned. They can't be bought. So you have to play multiplayer and get the experience.
Right, because they were getting flack for that before,
Yeah.
weren't they?
Yeah.
Because they were saying that, oh, hey, we have this stuff where you can get basically an edge on everyone, and everyone's came out and said, no, you can't do that. And they went, okay, yeah, you're right. You have to actually earn it.
Yeah. There's going to be a big problem, I feel, when the game does wide release, because the blasters that you get as the game progresses with level are definitely better than the base ones you have. So, like, there'll be a huge skill gap of people running into a room and somebody has a better blast and they'll just wipe a squad of people. So,
Do you think that'll push the microtransactions
Yes.
or people trying to catch up? That's dirty.
yeah. And that's how games are made.
Yeah. The one thing that struck me is something like Star Wars or the Shadows of War, the Lord of the Rings game that came out recently. When they have these microtransactions in them, which, whatever it is what it is, they don't even try to make them fit the theme of what they're doing though. They're literally just like a card or like an image sitting there. They don't try and add them to the flavor of the universe that they're building them into, which I think is kind of frustrating because I play those games for like fan service. Like I love being in the Star Wars world. I don't want to be taken out of it and reminded like, hey, I'm gambling right now. I'm playing a roulette wheel kind of thing to get prizes.
I know I'm on the fence a little bit with the Battlefront because I actually was quite a long time ago, and actually now I can talk about it because we're way past the non-disclosure agreement. I got to do a alpha test of the original Battlefront a couple of years ago when I was living down in Burnaby, and it was interesting, but I never got the first Battlefront 1 game because I figured this was going to be EA's Battlefield meets Star Wars. Like I felt like I was going to be disappointed in it. Watching a lot of the videos and stuff of Battlefront 2 and stuff, I'm kind of leaning towards I might pick it up, but only if I get to do a lot of like space battle stuff, because I'm a huge fan of the old Rogue Squadron series on
those are fun.
N64 and stuff. For me, that is the ultimate Star Wars experience. I know there is the on the ground running around, you could be Darth Maul or a soldier, whatnot, running around shooting that stuff. But for me, a Star Wars experience is the space battles.
Yeah, that was a huge part of it for me as well.
So if the game has, like, if I can go in and play almost nothing but space battles, I might pick it up.
So when the original it's interesting you brought the original Battlefield up, or Battlefront. When that came out, I played the beta as well, and I didn't enjoy it. Didn't enjoy the experience I had. I didn't enjoy what they had to offer. When the game's run kind of ended and they had released all their content, Origin, which is EA's online service, kind of like Steam, will usually put games for free if you're an Access member. An Access member is like $5 for a year or something like that. Excuse me. So I picked it up for free with all the additional content for free as well. And it was a completely different game. It had added so much, and it was such a fun experience to play. The new Battlefront has added on to that, and like, it's a really fun experience. You don't need to do microtransactions to have fun. The space battles are great. The on-ground stuff is a lot of fun. I've played as Boba Fett and just like different kind of troopers. I haven't been Jedis because I like the Jedi aspect of it, but I'm not playing Battlefront to run around with a lightsaber and cut people up. I'm playing for the first-person experience or the third-person shooter experience.
So what you're saying is that EA and DICE learned their lessons from the first one and solved a bunch of those problems, as well as add in some new content that sounds like it's veering the right direction to make it a decent game.
Yeah, and there's something in it for everybody. Like, if you want to do space battles, you can only do space battles. If you want to do hero mode, where the only people on the map are
Kylo Ren and Yoda,
and
the
Han
recognizable
Solo,
characters.
You can do that. You can only be those guys. I feel they've also held back content, because there used to be a mode where it started in space. You did a space battle, fighting a Star Destroyer. If the rebels won that, you'd move into the battle with the Death Star, and you'd kind of fight outside the Death Star. Then you'd go into the Death Star, and you were running around. Once you did that, you did the trench run after. So it was kind of like a cool amalgamation of every mode.
I like that idea.
That's a great idea. It's fantastic. So you get a little bit of everything. There's something in it for everybody, and it feels like you're accomplishing a big story arc in the movie.
Because actually that would work good, because it sounds like they're similar to some of their other games. It sounds like that you play within a team, like a fire team or something. But that sounds great, because then if you and a couple of buddies get together, like if two of you guys are really good at the ground battle stuff, and then it switches over to like the space battle stuff, then your other 2-3 guys that are on your team are like, all right, this is where we shine. We're gonna dominate this. You guys just sit back and recover from the last game.
Yeah. The only thing I'd like to see different, and this might be a nitpicky thing for me, their squadding isn't the best. So like, you can enter a squad with your friends in the title screen, but then there's no way to spawn on your friends if you die. So it's just like, you are defeated in game, you pick a character, then you ready up, and it'll put you in a waiting queue of 4, and then just 4 random people will queue with you.
So there's no guarantee that you have to.
You get to your friend.
How big are how many players are on each side when you're playing a game like that?
I think it's 30 on 30.
Okay, so yeah, it'd be easy to get lost.
Yeah. It does mark, if me and Kelsy and Dustin are on a squad, I can see you highlighted in green across the map, so I can make my way to you. But by the time I get to you, you might be
right. And there's something too, like if you your randomized squad, if you stay with them, you get some extra bonuses and stuff.
Points if you move in together.
But if you, like you said, if you saw Kelsy way off the distance, and you start running towards him, then you've left your squad, which means you lose those bonuses.
Yeah. There's some interesting things. I'll be curious to see where it goes from here. There's definitely things they can add in, and I felt that they've held back, which might be a good thing. We'll just see how much they charge you for new content. I know there's a 1 or 2 new maps coming out in the near future in December, but they've covered. They've got Jakku, they've got the Maz Kanata, Cantina, Tatooine, Hoth, Endor. I think they have Yavin.
I watched one. It looked like it was the clone facility.
Yep, on Camino, the Camino clone facility. What else did they have? They've got a good variety of maps and everything.
Well, it also sounds like too that they're obviously got the DLC stuff ready to go, and correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the stuff is actually coming out for free.
Yeah, I think the first wave of DLC is in December, and it's free.
And you don't actually have to buy a season pass for this game, or is there still a season pass?
I haven't seen a season pass. I bought the most expensive version of the game I could, which was
The deluxe one.
the deluxe elite version, and I think the base game was like $60, and then I spent $71, $11 extra, and it gave me a bunch of cards. So I got some Kylo Ren stuff, some Rey stuff, something for Yoda, extra abilities or buffs for those characters.
Right, because
Gave me the early access, gave me a couple other things.
Because that's the kind of package that you like you were saying
Yeah.
last week, where you want the stuff that's going to encourage you to keep playing that stuff. Don't give me, you don't like the art books and stuff, but you want the stuff that's going to help you in game.
Yeah.
I had an aunt message me about 3 months ago. My nephew wants this game for Christmas, and she was so confused as to which version to get, and it's like sometimes they just store exclusive with games and stuff. So she just basically help. I need help. I don't know what to get them. So I had to explain all the different versions to her, and it didn't look like there was store exclusive content for this particular game. But she's had that problem in the past where she's bought the wrong game at the wrong store, even though it was the right title.
If it's coming out for Christmas, and I wasn't in the first wave of people buying it, I would just buy the normal version. There'd be no need to buy the extra pack. And I'm somebody who will sit and grind and play the game because I enjoy the gameplay, where I don't need the bonuses and stuff like that. I pretty much got the pre-order one for the early access,
Right.
just so I could play it before.
I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it. I don't think I'm going to get it at launch, but I'll maybe wait a couple of weeks after. Just wait for the reviews to come in, wait for the initial feed of it, and then if I go, you know what, let's do this, let's have some old school Rogue Squadron fun with this new game, then I might look into it.
So my recommendation for anybody that's listening to this and you haven't picked up the game already and you didn't pre-order it, and I'm sure everybody who listens to this has got a backlog of games they're playing through, wait until Christmas. There will probably be a sale on the game. The DLC will be out, so you can see if you like what has been released for the DLC, and like Dustin said, there'll be reviews, so I'd wait. If you don't have it purchased already...
You don't think, though, with the extra time people have while you're waiting, that the skill level will be too far apart?
No, I don't think so. There's so much going on in a map. I don't think it's going to be a huge...
If it was maybe a year difference, then there probably would be, but not within the first couple months.
Or you can just spend $100 and buy a bunch of packs, catch up.
That's true. Well, that won't... The skill level in that game...
Because this game in particular, still, in the early access, you're seeing a lot of people say, it's kind of pay to win in some aspects of it.
Well, and the other thing, too, is, if you get somebody who's good at farming points right away and knows how to manipulate, getting objectives, because when you get objectives, you get points. When you get frags, you get points. And they get a hero, and they're really good with, Darth Maul. That tips. I played a game the other day, and a guy was really good in a spaceship, and we were playing ground game, and he would have Darth Maul instantly, and then he'd just run around and kill everybody, and he was 78 kills and 0 deaths, and I was like, oh. But I think we still won. So, it's not hinging so much on one person. One person can be doing kills, but if everybody else is just running around or not doing objectives, then it's not a big deal.
What if you were on the other team, though?
I was on the other team.
No, but I mean, you were on the other team, and this guy comes out of nowhere and just owns you all game long with Darth Maul. Aren't you going to feel discouraged about that?
I felt a little discouraged, but it also made me, because I'm so competitive, I'm how am I going to defeat this guy? What can I do?
What's the strategy to deal with this?
To beat this? There's characters that have rocket launchers, there's characters that have grenades, so it's I have to somehow pigeonhole this guy into a corner where... Or wait until sacrifice my teammates as they run in so I can shoot them in the back repeatedly. So
Operation Human Shield.
That's being a team player. My team wins.
Just randomly cut to that clip from the South Park movie where they have all the chef and all the black guys. They're like, you will be the human
line.
shield.
Yeah.
So on that note, because we had you mentioned the new content. Part of the new content that comes out in December is also content for The Last Jedi, which is coming out in December. Are you guys excited to see the next one? The next movie?
Yes, but not as much as I was for the last two. Seems to be going down slowly.
I liked the last Star Wars, The Force Awakens. I liked that one. I watched Rogue One a little while ago, and I didn't like that one as much.
When I watched Force Awakens in the theater, it was on opening night, and the whole theater was so into it. It was so great to go opening because people were applauding, people were oohing and eyeing, and you could hear the whole theater like gasp when Han and Chewie were on the Falcon. And I got really caught up in that, and I got out of the movie like just really high on Star Wars, and so I bought it right away when it came out. Every time I rewatch that movie, I'm like, this is a little worse and a little worse each time. I really got caught up in that mood that the theater had. That said, I still really love Star Wars, and I really liked Rogue Squadron a lot. But same thing, the more I watch it, the more I'm like, this wasn't as good as I thought it was the first time. And there's some weird things in it that bothered me.
I found that it was funny that with Force Awakens, I found that it was almost, arguably, it was almost exactly like A New Hope.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was, big battle. We got a droid with information on it. It goes into a desert planet. Yeah, there's a Death Star being built. We blow it up.
We have an empire in quotes.
But with Rogue One, they were like, "Oh yeah, it's an in-between story about how they get the Death Star plans." As soon as they said that, I'm like, "Well, you just ruined the movie for me. I know exactly how it ends. They obviously get the plans." Like, the only thing I really liked about the movie for Rogue One was when Darth Vader showed up at the very end and just owned those poor troopers.
The droid that Alan Tudyk voiced too was...
there was that too.
I really liked Rogue One. I liked how it was deviated from the traditional Star Wars cookie cutter. It was like a spy movie, and I really like that. I like the action sequences. I like the characters. I don't need it to be a Star Wars movie to enjoy it, if that makes any sense.
Let me ask you this, though. Why do stormtroopers even wear armor if when they get hit by a stick, they get knocked out instantly?
I don't. The stormtroopers, there's a lot wrong with stormtroopers. Like, they're supposed to be like this elite fighting force, but they're just a bunch of bumbling boobs that be beat by midget monkeys in a forest world. Like, come on now.
We'll look at A New Hope when the door opens and the one smacks his head into the door.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that one. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, go back and watch A New Hope and watch the scene where the stormtroopers come into the room where C-3PO and R2 are sitting there. Watch the trooper in the very back as the door opens, and he hits his head on the door as he comes in. It's hilarious, and it made it into the final cut of the movie. So,
I wasn't, when I saw Force Awakens, I was really excited about it when it first came out. Like, the soundtrack I thought was so good. I liked Poe Dameron was a cool character that I want to see more of.
I found him, even right off the bat, like, I don't care about him. I want the nostalgia play.
I loved him. I didn't want the nostalgia factor, and they forced it down my throat. I thought Harrison Ford phoned in his Han Solo performance. It was so hard to watch. I don't like that movie anymore. The first time I saw it, I liked it. I like the world they've kind of created, but I didn't like how they're like, well, we need to give you something familiar for you to enjoy this Star Wars. And I was like, oh, I want something new. I want something different.
For me, when that original trailer came out for Force Awakens, like, they had that, like the John Williams music was awesome, like the dun, and then like you saw like Finn pop his head up and stuff. But for me, it was that shot of the X-wings going across the lake. I saw that, I'm like, I have to see this movie.
That got me so excited for that movie as well. Yeah.
Like, again, going back to why I like Rogue Squadron stuff. Like, I love space battle stuff. For me, that is, as much as I like lightsabers and stuff and everything, for me, it's the piloting an X-wing and doing like the trench run and stuff like that. Like, those are the things I love to play. So when I saw that moment of it skipping across the water, I was instantly in love.
Yeah, stuff like that I thought was really good, but there was just so much stuff in that movie that was so, like, the whole Han Solo in that smuggling ship with the octopus creature. I was like, why are we doing this? Like, this is so bad. And for people that like that movie, that's great. Like, there are takeaways from it, just like the episodes 1, 2, and 3. There's takeaways from those movies that I enjoy, and I enjoy it as a whole trilogy. It adds things for me, and a lot of people don't find that. And I'm sure when this trilogy is complete, I'll look back on it and I'll be like, oh, episode 1 had some stuff, or episode 7 had some stuff that I really enjoyed, and it really adds to it. So it'll be curious to see what happens when it's done.
What are your initial thoughts leading up to A Last Jedi? Like what are you kind of expecting, or do you just want to, you don't want to spoil it for yourself, you just want to walk in and just enjoy it that way?
My expectations are, I want it to be a little bit darker. You know, when I said I don't want them to repeat things that I've already seen, I kind of want a tonal shift like they did with the original run that we didn't necessarily get in episodes 1, 2, and 3. A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back were
very different styles.
So I hope we kind of get...
Do you think you've got that feeling from the trailers you've seen so far?
I have the feeling that they're telling me that it's going to be like that, but there's so many little things in it that I don't think it's going to be like that.
There might be, and I don't think this will be a spoiler, but from the feeling from the trailer was because we lost I'm blanking out her. We lost Carrie Fisher. Yeah. That I think the original story was that Leia was going to survive some sort of space battle, and then because they lost her, they actually might have retroactively worked around that. So that's one big question.
Someone to make a timer and see how many times we've said space battle this podcast. Yeah. I feel like we're in the 20s now.
It's
a question of is Leia going to survive this movie, or are they going to blow her up?
I think they even came out and said it after she passed away, that they have written her out and that she's deceased now in the Star Wars universe. So they kind of spoiled it a bit. Mm-hmm. But they did do a really good job of making Leia look young in Rogue Squadron.
Oh, I don't even want to talk about this.
Yeah, Rogue One. Yeah. Better than what they made Tarkin look like.
Oh, yeah, he was...
That didn't bother me.
The first time I saw him on screen, I was like, oh, that's cool. Then they showed him again, I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, it's like Clone Wars all of a sudden.
Yeah. I'm really excited for it. I will always be excited for a Star Wars movie. Doesn't matter, because I love the Star Wars universe. I like something from every Star Wars movie that's been made, so... Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've tried not to watch the trailers, so when I go to the theater and see a trailer, I'm like, oh, I get excited.
Yeah, I was kind of upset that I went to Thor just a couple days ago, and I was kind of upset they had a Star Wars trailer there because I had avoided everything up to then, and now I've got a little bit more info, which I didn't want to have. I wanted to go into this movie like really, really blind.
But if I'm going to see a trailer for something, I want to see it at the theater.
Yeah, absolutely. It's better than watching it on your phone on the toilet. Yeah. So I watch most of my trailers.
A glimpse inside the fabulous...
Honey, we need to go. Hang on, I'm not done watching this. On that note, because you were saying about how you liked Rogue One, what they went in a different story and stuff, what are your thoughts about this new trilogy? Because the director for The Last Jedi is going to be running this new trilogy, which is supposed to be... It's supposed to be within the Star Wars universe, but it's going to have absolutely nothing to do with the Skywalkers, nothing to do with the Empire and stuff. So, like, what are your thoughts about them going, like, completely the next universe over?
It could have something to do with the Empire, but it will be characters we've never seen and a corner, air quotations, of the galaxy that we've never seen before. It's intriguing. There's so many things, they could introduce new Jedis that, are people who are Force sensitive. Mm-hmm. New cool smuggler characters, new alien races. Once again, anything Star Wars, I'm excited for. The guy that's directing and wrote Last Jedi, Rian Johnson, I believe his name is. He's getting a lot of praise for the work he did on Last Jedi. Okay. Like, a lot of praise. And when the director fell through for
Han Solo.
No, for the next episode 9,
right?
They offered it to him, and he said, "Well, I kind of want to do I like working on Star Wars. I want to do my own thing." So they said, "Okay, we're gonna get you to do a new trilogy. Then you can control the whole trilogy."
I like giving him that oversight. Like, that's worked out really cool in the Marvel universe. Yeah. Having like one person kind of be able to oversee everything. So I hope he sticks with it and he doesn't fall out of the project a couple of movies in.
Well, and the nice thing too is, if he did such a good job on Last Jedi, and he's passionate about his work, for him to not follow in somebody else's footsteps. Like, there's been so many people involved in Star Wars leading up to this moment. I think it's going to be exciting. I don't know if I like J.J. Abrams' vision for what was episode 7 called? We just talked
Force
about
Awakens.
Force Awakens. So him going back to it, I'm like, but you know, there's so much Star Wars content coming out. It's a good time to be a Star Wars fan.
You mean the Force lens flare?
Yeah, exactly.
There actually wasn't that many lens flares in that for that one. Compared to Star Trek, there were tons of lens flares.
We got like one massive lens flare in Force Awakens, and that's really all I can remember.
What are you guys' thoughts about the Han Solo movie? Oof. I personally, I think it's a bad idea. I don't think we need to know the history behind Han Solo. Let us, as a fan, picture it in our own way if we haven't read any like official books or anything that maybe go
official
into
anymore. They wiped the whole canon.
Unofficial.
I don't think it's going to do that well considering like 2 directors have already left it.
I think it'll still do well. Like money wise. I don't know about critically.
Yeah, from early reports, that movie's gone through so many reshoots. Then Ron Howard coming on as the 3rd director, and people saying that I can't remember the name of the actor that took over that's playing Han Solo.
Oh,
he was in a Coen Brothers movie. Anyways.
Right.
Unimportant right now. Add it into the comments when you listen to it, and I will glance over them.
All capital letters.
Yeah, exactly. His performance has been kind of matched to Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura. Like, they've said his portrayal of the character is like Ace Ventura. And I was like, what
does that mean?
Like,
so Han's going to bend over and start singing from his butt?
That's what I'm expecting at this point. Like, doing a Han Solo movie that doesn't involve Harrison Ford is a bad idea. Do a Boba Fett, and we don't, like you said, we don't need to know.
Doing a character like that in general, I think is a bad idea because you need those gaps in knowledge so that fans can create their theories and it can just leave something to your imagination. Like, he's so mysterious and cool, like him and Boba Fett in particular.
Well, Boba Fett works because we don't have an image of what he's supposed to look like in our mind.
Yeah.
And we don't need an origin story for Boba Fett. We need a movie about random adventures of Boba Fett. Like,
I don't want that either. I want that mystery. I want to, like, what could Boba Fett have been up to during this period in Star Wars?
But it's just a one-off thing about him going after a bounty for Darth Vader. So I think that
wrecks the character for me. That makes him.
Well, there was a Boba Fett video game a little while back, like back
Bounty Hunter,
GameCube era. But I remember hearing good things about it. Like, people liked the story behind it.
I think you can do a better Boba Fett movie than you can do a Han Solo movie.
I just think spending that much time with the character takes away the mystery for me, and that's why Boba Fett is so cool to me, is because he's so mysterious. I don't want to see him take his helmet off and piloting the ship and doing stupid Boba Fett stuff, like just the mundane stuff.
Like Dredd. Carl Urban kept his helmet on. We can have a Boba Fett movie like that, where he goes through a bounty and like the calamities that happen to him, and make it a serious, dark, gritty movie.
Ooh, could we have Carl Urban come back and be a Boba Fett?
As long as he has as many lines as he did in Dredd.
Yeah.
I like Dredd. Dredd was a good movie.
Yeah, Dredd was awesome. It was almost as good as the Stallone Dredd movie.
It's amazing. Come on. I just saw Carl Urban in Thor, and same thing. Like, he's got like almost no lines in that movie. Yep. Like, he just does his Dredd thing again.
Yeah.
All right. So we're not sure if the Solo movie is gonna fly solo, but
the sad thing is the Han Solo movie's going, and the Boba Fett movie's been canceled.
They have a Kenobi movie announced, don't they?
Yes, they do. I want to see a Kenobi movie.
I'm more okay with that one than the other ones, just because he's not this huge mysterious character. We've seen a lot of Ben over the years, and so I'm okay. Ewan's awesome. He was the best part of the
old trilogy. Is he coming back to be Obi-Wan? Oh, okay. Now I'm interested.
Like, it's gonna be an older Obi-Wan after Revenge of the Sith.
Right. So like his time hanging out on Tatooine kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which could be
sitting in a cave for 2 hours.
I'm fine with that. I'm perfecting how to be a Cloak Wampa monster. I'm so into that.
Start practicing your sound effects now.
Yeah.
Moving on. What's starting with Kelsey? It's going to be a big question here, but what's your favorite Star Wars game? Like, if you had to pick one.
If I had to pick one, I'd probably lean where you're in the area of Rogue Squadron 1 for N64 is easily one of my favorite. I love the missions in that game, and that's one of the ones I went back to multiple times and had to like gold medal everything so I could get the bonus stages at the end, and I have a lot of love for that game in particular. So if I had to narrow it down to one, that would probably be my one.
I'd probably also pick Rogue Squadron as well, because it was one of the ones that I grew up playing a lot of, as well as trying to, do the medal runs and everything. But I remember hearing a lot of people were saying like the storyline in Rogue Squadron was so good that it should have been a movie. Like there should be a movie on the Rogue Squadron. Like
absolutely.
There's got to be more than just blowing up the Death Star or blowing up the Star Killer. Like
those are more of the side movies I'd like to see, where they take these little niche characters and give them some life and some background. I don't want the extra stuff from the big characters. I like having the mystery to them.
Yeah, like why don't we have a story of like the squadron as a team? Maybe they go on a mission and they lose one of their guys, and now they have to deal with that, or they're stuck doing the suicide run on some sort of mission.
Yeah, there's so much content in the Star Wars universe that Rogue Squadron adds so much extra if you put it in a movie. Rogue Squadron is probably one of my favorite ones as well. I really like that game.
So Rogue Squadron all around.
Yeah,
there's other ones I really really like, but if you made me only play one Star Wars game for the rest of my life,
I like the idea behind the Force Unleashed, like with Star Killer.
Yeah,
I didn't get very far into that game.
The storyline, like that, would have been an interesting movie too.
The concept is good.
The gameplay on the first one wasn't that great because there's a lot of like platforming issues and stuff. But like the premise of it, of Darth Vader having a secret apprentice, that again should have been another side story movie.
The original Battlefront series that they did for PlayStation
and Xbox.
I really liked the second one. It had some good space battles. It had some good, set pieces. I didn't mind that one. I like the new Battlefront 2 game that's out. I like, as hard and as frustrating they are, the Super Nintendo Super Star Wars games. I really like those games.
Those were fun to grow up with.
They look gorgeous. They play all right. They're fun games.
There's a lot of ups and downs in those ones. There's some really fun parts, and there's some really monotonous parts, and just super unfair feeling parts.
Yeah. Maybe it was a good thing that our controllers were still connected with a cord, because when you hucked it across the room, at least something caught it halfway and pulled it back down.
Pretty much. We went through Nintendos when I was a kid, because my brother used to get so mad playing the Star Wars game for Nintendo.
Ooh, those ones aren't as good as the Super Nintendo ones,
where you have like the overmap and
you're driving around the land speeder.
Yeah. He used to like dagger the top of the Nintendo with the controller because he was so mad. A lot of anger issues.
Did you guys ever play Dark Forces for PC? Those are pretty important.
Yeah,
for me too.
Dark Forces 2 and Jedi Outcast I played a ton of.
Yeah, I really didn't play a lot of computer games, and especially not first-person games, but that one really, just because of that universe it was in, it was really cool. It drew me into that one.
The multiplayer in Jedi Outcast, you could do like one-on-one lightsaber battles as well. Me and my friends played so much of that game. Tons of it. Jedi Academy was also really good. The story was good. At the time, it looked really gorgeous. It played really good. They were good games.
I never got a chance to play it, but I've never played a PC game for Star Wars.
Wow.
But
that's where that series just lived and thrived through the 90s.
There was one that was interesting to me, was I think it was Empire at War, which is the real-time strategy one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
Before that one, there's another one. It was basically a reskin of something like StarCraft or Warcraft, Galactic Battlegrounds.
Yep.
I loved that game. And same thing. It made no sense like story wise. It was because you'd have just factions that didn't exist at the same time.
It'd be like your typical Red Alert.
Exactly that style of game. But it was so much fun to be building like AT-AT facilities and stuff. And
I'm changing my vote to Dark Forces Jedi Outcast.
That's favorite?
That's my favorite. That game is so good.
It's really, really good.
So good.
Traitor!
Yeah, it's a fun game.
Yeah, and like X-Wing TIE Fighter was like huge on the computer as well. And you loving space battles, that might be one to maybe check out. I know it's 20 years removed now from it, but it's still
It
really
probably
cool
would show his
series.
age, but it probably would be not a bad little
Yeah,
nostalgia
I
trip.
think you could overlook the
Whoa.
technical stuff and still have fun with it.
What was the game based on space battles that had Mark Hamill in it?
Wing Commander.
Wing Commander. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, if you want a little like Star Wars-ish kind of game.
Wasn't that
it
the-
was more Star Trek.
Wasn't that the one where it was like the CGI background and they obviously like green
Yeah.
screen the character and them acting out their character?
Very color.
We need to go on a mission.
Yeah, I
Very
think
Command of
he's
Conquer-
Wing Commander
Conquerors.
3. I think it's
Yeah.
the Mark Hamill one specifically.
And they have like a Chewbacca ripoff in it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Moving on. I think we kind of touched on this a little bit, but what Star Wars games would you like to see or have sequels to? I know we already said that, for sequels in terms of the movies, like these separate side story stuff, but what about a game? Like, what's a game that you haven't seen done that would do Star Wars justice?
I think I'm with you again, where I want a space battle one, but I don't want a big online one like Battlefront 2. I want a solo campaign one where I'm following a story. I don't care if it's canon or not. I just want it in that universe. I want to flesh different kinds of ships, and I want it to have some kind of meaning story-wise to it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my ideal Star Wars game right now.
Probably the same. I'd like a Star Wars game to get a Grand Theft Auto 5 treatment.
Ooh,
where it
no,
has,
don't do that.
Where it has easy now. Where it has a like really good, fleshed out, single player where you can get into a ship, any ship, fly into space, do a space battle, land on the ship, do a ground battle, go back to the surface of the planet, do a battle, and then it also has a good multiplayer. I want it all. I want it all, Kelsey. I'm hard to please.
I don't want to like buy an apartment and like have a little cleaning
No, I
droid
don't want
and
that.
stuff.
I don't want that, but I want the like as far when I say Grand Theft Auto treatment, I mean a really good fleshed out single player and an engaging multiplayer.
When I think Grand Theft Auto, I just think the open world where there's just so much boring stuff that
Yeah.
I want it to just be the like action stuff. Like they can give me some little exposition in between missions where I know what they were doing. I don't need to actually see it or play that kind of stuff.
I don't want because I didn't like the Star Wars MMORPGs that they made, so I don't want that.
You mean like the Knights of the Old Republic?
Yeah, I don't want, but I want to be able, like you said, I want to be able to fly ships around. But like how I said in the newer Battlefront 1, how they allowed you to do a space battle, then go on to a ground mission, then jump into it. Like I want to be able to do that.
I would like to see a Star Wars treatment of, like, I think it's EVE Online, that huge space battle thing, because I can recall hearing stories about people spending like almost $1 million in real money for having huge space battles.
That
and
game's
stuff and
crazy.
everything.
Yeah. So I guess Star Wars would be a really good skin for that kind of game.
Yeah.
Because it would be cool if, like, say you get to be like a person and you get to like buy, say, your first ship, and then you fly around the galaxy, maybe do some smuggling stuff, maybe do some jobs, and then you can upgrade your ship and start getting bigger, or you decide, you know what, I'm not going to be a commander, I'm just going to be a pilot, and then you just
join this clan and
you get an X-wing, and you start modifying it with new engines, new whatnot.
Every ship's a little different.
Every ship, yeah, you can even customize your ship your own way. Have some sort of like paint function on it where you can actually like stand out away from it and actually paint it.
Yeah.
And then it can be your ship instead of just these like simple recolors where it's like, oh, change color 1 and 2 and that's it.
Your squad has a logo and you can put it on your ship so everybody knows you're part of that squad, the Game Quest squad.
Oh no, it's Game Quest TV, run for your lives.
Really quick, jumping back to The Last Jedi, the movie, just a really quick little thing that I forgot to mention. Have you heard about the release controversy for this movie?
Oh yeah, that's been messy. With where they jumped up the revenue they want from theaters, and you have to like sign a contract to like run it in your biggest theater. It has to be like a minimum of 5-week run.
or
I've heard.
5 weeks.
Okay, I've briefly seen some stuff about it, but I don't know the details about it. So
it
if you could
seems
tell
really
me a little more.
mean-natured for Disney. Like they usually have a pretty good. People have good perception of them, and this seems like we're gonna be jerks and flex some muscle and maximize our capital out of this movie.
So what was the premise of it? Was that certain theaters were the only ones are allowed to?
No, anyone can do it, but like if you're running a smaller independent theater, like you've got one screen and you want to run Star Wars, you're contracted to run that for 5 weeks. Like there's no other movies in your theater for 5 weeks.
And if you break that, you have to pay a higher percentage of what you pay towards Disney to have that movie in your theater.
What?
So they normally collect let's say 45%. I think it's up to.
I think it was 55 now.
Yeah, if you don't show it in your theater for the 5 weeks, you have to pay 65% of the revenue garnered from it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And a lot of theaters are like, well, then we're not gonna show it.
So on that rule, so if you were like a small movie theater and you had like 2 theaters and you put Star Wars in one, you're not allowed to run anything else in the other one.
Oh, no, you can run whatever you want in the other one.
Oh, but that one theater has to be dedicated to Star Wars for 5
And
weeks.
if you have a one of those 2 screens is a bigger theater, you have to run Star Wars in the bigger, better one. You can't run it in the smaller one. So even if you like, obviously you'd want to run it there for the first couple of weeks, but then if you wanted to move it and bump a new movie in, you couldn't do that.
Right.
So Disney will be adding an additional 5% profit share on tickets, which is on top of the current 60%. So I'll bump it up to 70% that they take.
Ugh.
Wow.
This isn't the first time Star Wars has tried to do this. When George Lucas released Attack of the Clones, he said, I'm only going to release this movie to theaters that will play it digitally with digital sound and digital video. Because at the time, a lot of them were still on real projectors and stuff like that. And he said, if you want it, you have to turn your theater over to digital to play it.
I don't know how I feel about that first initial George Lucas digital thing, but
And a lot of theaters said no dice, and they ended up having to cave anyways. Star Wars.
okay.
So
Yeah, that first time around, that's an odd choice because at least he's saying, "Hey, upgrade your theaters, and then it'll look better."
That's not like
Forcing you to upgrade, like that's like saying, "Hey, do you want to play this awesome new Metroid game? Oh, but you have to fully upgrade your entire gaming system to 4K TV
that's
to
essentially
this."
what happens, anyways. In 2 years.
No,
they'll
but
be
I mean
you have
like
to have a 4K system
no, but
to
I
play
mean
it.
like if you had like this game that coming out and it says, "Oh, hey, you have to play it on this specific console, you have to play it on this specific 4K TV and stuff like that." Then
We're not
that
far from that.
how many years have we
Hopefully not.
heard like that movie theaters are struggling though, like to make money,
Yeah.
to keep showing, like if people want them to survive, like these kind of things aren't going to help that.
Well,
If they have less money coming in,
when Disney launches their own streaming service, that's what's going to happen. They're going to be like, we are no longer releasing movies in theaters. You can only get it on our digital streaming service.
did you hear their pricing too? They haven't announced what it's going to be, but they're like, it will be significantly less than Netflix. Which surprises me because I thought Disney would charge a premium for their stuff,
Yeah.
but they've come out and flat out said like, we're going to be the cheap guys.
Well, I kind of made this prophecy, we'll call it. So, with this Disney streaming service, now that we're onto Disney.
Paulstradamus.
Yeah, Paulstradamus.
he is the chosen one.
You know how they'd release DVDs in their vault collection for a limited time?
Yeah.
Once again, there's air quotes. I feel it's going to be like that. They're going to release a very cheap version of it, but it'll be bare bones. And then, it'll be $5 to get Disney content. But then it'll be $20 a month to get every part of the vault. I feel they'll have tiers of...
Yeah, I could see them doing something like
that
that.
would make sense.
Yeah.
That your $5 gives you the newest, latest, greatest stuff that's up for maybe a year.
You can watch the new Jungle Book and Beauty and the Beast. You want to watch the old ones, you're gonna have to throw another $5 to jump up to that next tier.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
think
that
that's...
premium Disney money.
Yeah, especially if they get Fox. Like before too, I was like, I don't know if I want to get this Disney streaming thing. We'll have the Marvel stuff away from, and the Star Wars stuff away from
Netflix. Yeah,
But if they end up getting the rights to Fox and they're putting it on their streaming service,
That's a lot of content.
yeah, it might be worth it.
Right. Okay. Our last thing about Star Wars today is your feelings on Star Wars games being exclusive to one publisher, because I
Yeah.
believe right now EA is the only
yeah.
one.
EA and Disney worked out a deal like a year and a half, 2 years ago, where EA is the only game company that is going to be publishing Star Wars games for the foreseeable future.
It's kind of unfair. Like I get why they're doing it, because they want to keep it under one house, because they want control over it. But
Because
that's also
Disney
but
shuttered
that's-
all of its game development companies. Like it used to put out some of its own content, and they're all gone now.
But
So
now
they-
that's kind of unfair because now the little developer guy who has this great amazing idea for a Star Wars game now can't do it.
I don't know if they've
Unless you
ever
sell
given little developers
No.
Star Wars titles though. Like it's a big franchise; they want a big name behind it.
Yeah, I don't think it's small.
But I think it's obviously already been a very lack of diversity, especially like they just closed down Visceral that was working on this single player Star Wars game, saying we don't want to do a single player game anymore for Star Wars. We want to do online where we can monetize this better.
And that's brutal because we're not, if they were releasing content and it was like, here's an RTS, here's Battlefront, here's a story-driven one like
No,
Dark Forces, and here's a Rogue Squadron game, that'd be awesome. But being owned by one company, they're not going to do that. Because they're only going to...
they're seeing how much money they're making off 1 and 2. Like,
Yeah.
let's just keep
Well,
doing
and
that
it
model.
spreads their money around too. So it's like, we're going to release you one game, and you're going to pay us your money. That's it.
Yeah.
End of story.
So it sounds like Disney and EA are becoming the empire of Star
Yeah.
Wars video gaming.
Yeah.
The article I read about that, about them with The Last Jedi, what they're doing with the theaters, it was like, yeah, they're becoming the Empire or the First Order. I was like, oh, that's-
There was a funny quote, I think it was on a Kotaku article, where I was reading about the pay-to-win microtransaction stuff in Battlefront, where they had the Padme quote on the end of the article where it's like, this is how multiplayer games die, with thunderous loot boxes. I thought that was pretty hilarious.
You're breaking my heart.
that's pretty good.
Yeah, there's no diversity is the big problem, I think. I would love to see, like, the game that Dustin was looking for, like his dream game. Maybe that one could happen under EA, because there's a lot of ways to monetize an online MMO like that. The ones Palmy you're looking for, those can't happen with EA's model right now.
Although, like, the campaign's supposed to be really good for Battlefront 2. I'll let you know. If the campaign's really good, I'll have you over. And we'll play it
Supposedly,
through.
I heard that the campaign for Battlefront 2 is going to be official Star Wars canon,
I heard that as well.
which I thought that's interesting.
I think that's why they wiped all the old canons, so they can control all the new
Yeah.
stuff coming out and be a little pickier with it.
And they are taking a lot of the old canon and putting it into, like, Thrawns and Rebels.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people that were pretty excited about that.
And they did, like, Rebels is doing really good. So,
So any final thoughts, Kelsey? Anything Star Wars related?
My final thought is I hope EA screws it up enough somehow, gets enough backlash, or just doesn't make enough money, or whatever it takes for Disney to open up that license to other companies too. That's my biggest hope. I want more people to have chances to make Star Wars stuff, so that I can get things that appeal to me, you can get things that appeal to you, Paul can get things that appeal to him. I don't want them all just at one target. I want that diversity again, where we have TIE Fighter X-Wing, and we have Galactic Battlegrounds, and we have Dark Forces, and we have Shadows of the Empire, and we have Rogue Squadron, and we get a lot of cool stuff that appeals to a bigger audience.
My final thoughts are I'm definitely going to keep an eye on Battlefront 2. I probably will pick it up for the PS4. What do you have it for, Paul?
PC.
You have it for PC.
Is there crossplay on that one?
I'm not entirely sure.
No,
Something
probably
I'll
not.
look into.
PS4 has been pretty. They don't like sharing
They
network.
shared with Street Fighter.
They did. I think that's the only example. Xbox is a lot easier to crossplay.
I'll have to judge either if I want to get it on PS4 or get it on my PC. But I think I got to do some upgrading on my PC too. I'm looking forward to the movies, well, at least the new one anyway. I like watching Star Wars. I just hope it'll be good. And I know we forgot to mention it, but I forgot to mention the X-Wing tabletop game.
Oh,
I forgot that
that's really cool.
I see it played at the store, and I see the guys playing and stuff, and I'm like, that's really cool, because it's not like Mech Warrior where like you just move and you instantly shoot at something. You actually have to purposely fly your ship around
Yeah, it's
certain
different
points and
patterns.
stuff. So
Different pilots have different abilities.
I
It's-
definitely will maybe save it for maybe another video and stuff, but I definitely want to get one of the players' opinions on the tabletop game,
Yes.
how well it's doing, if they feel it's going to keep going, because it looks really cool.
It's doing big numbers. Like it's really shot up as far as miniatures games go, and it's one of the easier ones to get into. You don't have to assemble and paint models right
Yeah.
off the bat, and the rules are a lot easier to understand. It's very good gateway miniatures game if you want to get into like something more complex like Malifaux, War Machine, Warhammer, that kind of stuff. It's a big learning curve for those games. X-Wing makes it really, really easy to play, and it's a really cool theme, and you have like all the iconic ships and pilots right off the bat too.
Yeah, I definitely get into that game. I think it looks awesome.
I definitely want to like film a video, like an overhead shot with some fake Star Wars music playing over top as the guys going back and forth.
Hey, maybe in the future the three of us can all, like, I've only played a couple times. I'm not very good at it yet. So if you guys want, we can have the game set up and try and learn it together and do a cool scenario.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Paul, final thoughts.
I like Star Wars.
The force is strong with you.
Every time I see a Star Wars movie in the theater, my initial thought is, this is the greatest movie ever made. And then I'll watch it 3 more times in the theater, and on like the 4th view, I'll be like, yeah, it's not that good, but I still like it. And if anybody asks me, I'll say it's amazing.
I do have to say, I think it was like last Christmas, my mom picked up for me the Blu-ray copies of the first, like the original trilogy, New Hope and stuff, and that's still one of my favorite movies. Like to sit down and just on like a rainy day or on a sick day, just throw in what was Empire Strikes Back? I love Empire Strikes Back.
One of my like background movies. Like if I'm doing something monotonous and I just want some noise in the background, it's like I'm gonna throw on one of the, or usually the first 2, not Jedi so much, but I'll throw on New Hope or Empire.
Empire's one of my like top 10 favorite movies ever made. It's really good.
I used to work with a guy who would watch them daily, so we would have the 3 original trilogy running like constantly in the house. It was really neat.
It's pretty intense. I like the games. I am right now happy with EA having control over it because I am liking what they're doing. Like I said initially, the Battlefront that they first made wasn't the best, but it became such a great game. Then they offered it for free on Origin. This game I'm sure is going to go the same way, but it's much better. It's a good game right now. It'll only get better. Yeah, more Star Wars content is always good. If you like Star Wars, I think it's
an interesting time to be a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, I think it's going to be...
It's way different than when we were kids and like the other trilogy was just coming out. It was very different feeling around than this trilogy, I think.
Yeah, because when we were young, we had the original versions on VHS that were amazing.
That had come out before I think all 3 of us were born.
Yeah.
And just had that legacy about them.
Yeah, you had to watch them. You watched them growing up. And then in the mid-90s, they did the re-release of all of them. So, I got to see them in the theater. I can say, oh, I saw the original trilogy in the theater.
When I went to see those when they got re-released, I lived in Fort St. John at the time. They had one theater, one screen. And I went to A New Hope. There was 2 other guys there. I didn't know either of them. We all sat, like we had wherever we want. That was literally the whole theater. Nobody else showed up for it. And then we all came back for Empire Strikes Back. Same 2 guys, that's nobody amazing. Else. And one of them came out around Easter. So I remember coming with like a big white chocolate Easter bunny. And because there were so few people there, the movie staff didn't care that I brought in my own food. They're like, yeah, go sit and eat your bunny and watch Star Wars. And I remember just like leaning up, feet on the seat, eating this huge bunny and watching the movie. And it was really awesome.
Yeah, that's great. They were packed. I saw them in Prince George, and they were in the old Cineplex Odeon.
That movie theater made me so mad because when they get movies in that I wanted to see, like Star Wars, no one came. And then we'd drive by when something stupid like Not Another Teen Movie was out, and there'd be a lineup down the block to get in, and they'd be turning people away because they had no more seats, and it was sad sometimes.
Yeah, good times. So that's it for this episode of PodQuest. If you have any questions or anything you want to ask us directly, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. We're always open to answering any viewer questions that we get on air. We're definitely going to look forward to our next podcast here, but otherwise, I guess the only thing we can say to sign off here is may the force be with you.
And more content to come. Like Star Wars, it's an interesting time to be a PodQuest fan.
These segues.
Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome.